You ever notice how the people who never shut up are always the ones doing the least? They're loud. They're animated. They've got something to say about everything and something to prove to everyone. They brag about plans they haven't started. They complain about problems they created. They flex achievements they barely earned. And deep down, they're terrified that if they stop talking, the world will finally see the truth. They don't actually have anything real. That's why they need noise. Noise is their shield. Noise is their camouflage. But you're different. You're not interested in performing. You're not obsessed with being seen. You're not here to impress anyone. You're too busy becoming dangerous. Because real danger doesn't announce itself. Real power doesn't need a microphone. Real dominance doesn't come from how loud you are, but from how controlled you are. Silence isn't emptiness. Silence is compression. It's pressure building behind a closed door. When you're silent, people can't read you. They can't predict you. They don't know if you're planning, if you're observing, or if you're 10 steps ahead of them already. And that uncertainty, that's leverage. You sit in the room, quiet, watching, letting everyone else project their insecurities out loud. They show their jealousy, their fear, their doubt, their lack of discipline. They expose everything. You expose nothing. They think your silence means you're shy, weak, or uninterested. They think you have nothing to say. They're wrong. You have plenty to say. You just don't waste it on the wrong people. Every word you don't speak is energy saved. Every reaction you hold back is control gained. Every secret you keep is power preserved. People underestimate what they cannot hear. They disrespect what they cannot measure. They fear what they cannot predict. And that's where you become a problem. Because while they're busy performing, you're training. While they're chasing attention, you're building skill. While they're telling stories, you're writing reality. You're the ghost in the room, not invisible because you're weak. Invisible because you choose to be. You don't need to broadcast your grind. You don't need to defend your dreams. You don't need to debate your beliefs with people who aren't even winning in their own lives. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. Let them assume. Assumptions are weaknesses. You collect them like data. They think they know you because they've heard your name or seen your face. They don't realize they only know the version of you that allows itself to be visible. And that version is outdated the moment they recognize it. They're playing checkers with their emotions. You're playing chess with your silence. Every time you choose not to react, you're moving a piece that they can't see. Every time you avoid explaining yourself, you're closing a door they didn't know they walked through. Every time you walk away instead of engaging, you're winning a battle they didn't notice existed. People think power is in being loud, aggressive, and constantly on. But the loudest one in the room is usually fighting for a spotlight, not for an outcome. True killers don't need the spotlight. They're too busy aiming. You want real control over your life? Start with this. Control your tongue. Control your face. Control your reaction. You don't owe the world your emotional outbursts. You don't owe anyone your explanations. You don't owe your enemies proof that you're getting better. Let them misjudge you. Let them think you're soft. Let them believe nothing's happening. Because when the time comes, you're not showing up to talk. You're showing up to win. The world doesn't respond to noise. It responds to results. You can spend your life telling everyone what you're going to do, or you can shut up and actually do it. You can cling to validation, or You can become the type of person who doesn't need it. You can be like them, loud, predictable, fragile. Or you can be what they secretly fear, calm, silent, unshakable. You don't have to roar to be a lion. Predators don't announce themselves. They stalk, they wait, they observe. And then, at the right moment, they move once, not twice, not with hesitation. Once, with absolute conviction. That's what you're training for. Not to impress, not to be liked, not to be understood. You're training to be inevitable. And inevitability doesn't need noise. It just needs time and discipline. Silence is not about letting people walk over you. Silence is not about being passive. Silence is not about hiding. Silence is about control over yourself, over your impulses, over the image you project. Silence is what separates the ones who are acting from the ones who are actually becoming. So stay quiet, stay cold, stay calculating. Let them underestimate you. They'll regret it later. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. If you can't control your own mind, you're not mysterious, you're weak. You're not deep, you're just scattered. You're not misunderstood, you're just undisciplined. You're not silent, you're just lost. Silence only becomes power when the mind behind it is sharp. You can be quiet and still be pathetic. You can say nothing and still be a slave. So let's make something very clear. Silence without discipline is just emptiness. Silence with discipline is deadly. The only thing you truly own in this world is your mind, not your job, not your status, not your relationships, not your body even. That can fail whenever it wants. The one thing that is fully yours until you surrender it is your mind. If you don't take control of it, life will. Your emotions will. Random people, social media, and circumstances will. You'll live like a leaf in the wind, blown from mood to mood, distraction to distraction, promise to promise. And then you'll look up one day and hate the life you built while you were half asleep. You want to be dangerous? Lock your mind in. Treat it like a weapon, not a toy. Every thought you indulge is either sharpening that weapon or dulling it. You already know what you should be doing. You know you should be training your body. You know you should be learning, leveling up your skills, stacking wins. You know you should be cutting out people who drain you and surrounding yourself with those who force you to rise. You don't lack knowledge. You lack execution. You keep talking about your dreams like they owe you something, like repeating them is progress. It's not. Talking isn't movement. Posting isn't progress. Vent is not victory. You want to know what real self-respect looks like? It's when you tell yourself you're going to do something, and then you do it. No debate, no delay, no compromise. You say, I'm training today, and it's done. You say, I'm cutting him, her off, and it's done. You say, I'm done wasting time, and it's done. Not because you feel like it, not because it's convenient, but because your word means something to you. Most people talk like their words are air, cheap and easily thrown away. They promise themselves they'll start Monday. They swear this is the last time they slack. They say they're going to change right before doing the exact same thing again. You know what that creates? Self-disgust. They don't respect themselves because deep down, they know they're liars. You can't build a strong mind on a foundation of broken promises. If you want a dangerous mindset, start here. Make your word iron. If you say it, it becomes law for you. Not everything you claim has to be dramatic. You don't have to tell the world you're going to conquer it. Tell yourself you're going to wake up early and actually do it. Tell yourself you're going to skip the distraction and actually skip it. Tell yourself you're going to push through the workout and actually finish. Every time you follow through, you're sending a message to your own brain. What I say is real. When I speak, it happens. That's where power begins. Not in the motivational speeches, not in the hype, not in the Instagram quotes. It begins in the quiet moments where nobody's watching and you choose discipline over comfort. That's where you separate yourself from the masses. This world is full of men and women numbing themselves with comfort. Comfort food, comfort entertainment, comfort thinking. They think they have time. They think they can stay average now and become elite someday. They think life will wait while they waste it. It won't. You get one run, one body, one mind. A few years where you have the energy, the hunger, the strength to build something incredible. And most people will throw that window away because discipline feels too hard. But discomfort is the door to every version of you worth becoming. You want a stronger body? Embrace discomfort. You want more money? Embrace discomfort. You want freedom, respect, power? Embrace discomfort. Not for a week, not for a month. As a way of living. You don't need to be angry at the world forever, but you should be dissatisfied with a weak version of yourself. That dissatisfaction is fuel if you aim it in the right direction. You don't change by accident. You change when you decide you're done being average and you're willing to suffer for the upgraded version of you. That's the truth. You want to be a threat? You want to be respected without begging for it? Then master 3 things. Your mind, what you allow, what you repeat, what you believe. Your emotions, what you react to, what you ignore, what you rise above. Your word, what you say, and whether it actually means anything. You don't need anyone to save you. They're not coming. No mentor, no friend, no relationship is going to live your life for you. You are alone with your decisions. You are alone with your habits. You are alone with your effort. That should scare you enough to move and empower you enough to know you can. Silence, discipline, obsession. Put those together and you become unrecognizable. Not tomorrow, not instantly, but inevitably. So stop wasting breath defending your potential. Stop explaining why you haven't started. Stop telling people what you're about to do. No more leaks, no more emotional outbursts, no more sloppy words. Lock in. Move in silence. Honor your word. Train your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. And one day, the world will look at you and say, where did this person come from? They don't need to know the answer. You will. You came from the shadows, from the silence, from the nights where you chose discipline over distraction. You built yourself when no one was watching. And now they can watch all they want. You're not talking anymore. You're proof. You're not going to like this, but you didn't come here for comfort. You came here because something broke you. She left. He left. They betrayed you. Someone died. Someone walked away. Something ended. And ever since that moment, you've been living like the funeral never stopped. You say you want to move on, but you keep replaying the same scenes. You say you're healing, but you're not. You're just reliving. You say you're processing, but really, you're stuck. You wake up and check their social media. You stalk their new life like it's a show you can't stop watching. You see them smiling with someone else. You see the pictures, the vacations, the dinners, the fake happiness. Your chest tightens. Your mind starts racing. You feel anger, jealousy, grief, regret. all at once. And what do you do with it? Do you go to war with yourself and rebuild your life? Do you hit the gym like a madman, train your body until your reflection is unrecognizable? Do you grind so hard that your entire reality upgrades to a point where nobody can walk away from you without losing more than you do? No, you don't. You sit there, you scroll, you overthink, you talk, you cry. You write messages you'll never send, or messages you send that never change anything. You're using your pain to rot you instead of fuel you. You think sending a perfect paragraph will fix it. You think if you say the right words, they'll suddenly remember your value. You think if you explain yourself, if you explain how much they hurt you, they'll magically feel guilt and run back. They won't. You could write poetry better than any author alive, and they still wouldn't care. They're living forward. You're living backward. The harsh truth, they're not sitting around thinking about how broken you are. They're not refreshing your page. They're not checking if you're okay. You are not the main character in their story anymore, but you're still making them the main character in yours. That's the problem. You've turned your own life into a shrine to what hurt you. Every thought circles back to them. Every day, you rehearse the same scenes in your head. Every plan gets paused until you feel better. You think grief gives you permission to stop improving, to stop trying, to stop living. It doesn't. Pain is not a hall pass for laziness. Heartbreak is not a justification for self-destruction. Loss is not an excuse to throw your entire future away. Yes, grief is real. Yes, heartbreak is brutal. Yes, your pain is valid. But let's ask the only question that matters. What are you going to do with it? Because you only have two options. Let it consume you. Turn it into fuel. There is no third path. Staying the same is just a slower way of dying. You say life is hard now. You're right. But life was always hard. You think you're uniquely cursed. You're not. Everyone gets hit. Everyone loses something. Everyone bleeds. The difference between the ones who rise and the ones who rot is simple. Some people use their damage as a reason to stop. Others use it as a reason to never stop again. The world you live in is soft enough that you can fail over and over and still have a bed to sleep in and food to eat. You can ignore discipline and still survive. That's the dangerous part, because survival convinces you that you're doing okay, when in reality, you're wasting the most precious thing you have, time. You lost someone, and you let that loss steal more from you than it already did. You didn't just lose them. You're losing years, months gone, opportunities missed, doors closed while you were busy staring at one that will never open again. Understand this. The breakup hurt you once. You replaying it is what hurts you every day. The betrayal cut you once. You reopening it is what keeps you bleeding. You call it grief. But for most people, it's not grief anymore. It's addiction. Addiction to the story. Addiction to the pain. Addiction to the one that got away. You've turned your past into your prison. Every time you type their name, every time you check their profile, every time you talk about what happened for the 100th time, you're tightening your own chains. So let me ask you a brutal question. How long? How long are you going to mourn a door that's been closed? How long are you going to orbit around a person who doesn't revolve around you? How long will you keep your future on pause because your past wasn't fair? There's no timeline for grief, everyone says. True. But there is a point where grief becomes a choice. You can't control who left. You can't control what died. You can't control what got taken from you. But you do control whether you keep kneeling at the grave. Your life is not meant to be lived in cemeteries of what if, what was, and what should have been. You were not built to be frozen in a chapter that already ended. You want dark truth? Here it is. The world doesn't stop because you're hurt. Bills don't stop. Time doesn't stop. Opportunities don't stop passing by. While you're crying over someone who walked away, there are doors opening that you're too blind to see. Pain is supposed to move you, not freeze you. It's supposed to ignite you, not paralyze you. You keep asking, why did this happen to me? Wrong question. The real question is, what am I going to build out of this? You can let heartbreak make you smaller, suspicious, bitter, afraid to love, afraid to trust, afraid to try. Or you can let it make you bigger, stronger, sharper, more focused, more selective, more powerful. Not in a cold villain way where you hurt everyone like you were hurt. In a disciplined way, where you refuse to let pain go to waste. Every tear you cried is energy. Every night you couldn't sleep is energy. Every moment you spent shaken with rage or drowning in sadness is energy. And energy doesn't disappear if you don't direct it upward. It will drag you downward. Your grief can either be your grave or it can be your engine. You decide. So, no, I'm not here to tell you it's okay to stay broken. It's not. Feel it. Yes. Deny it. No. But worship it. Live in it. Build an identity around it. Absolutely not. You've given enough of your life to what hurt you. It's time to take it back. Not tomorrow. Not when you're ready. Not when it stops hurting. It might not stop hurting. You move anyway. Grief is part of being human, but staying buried in it, that's a decision. And in the next part, we're going to talk about exactly that decision. How to take everything that shattered you and use it to become someone who never lives on their knees again. There's a version of you that only pain can build, not comfort, not success, not validation, not support. Pain. Pain is the sculptor of the strong. Pain is the blacksmith of discipline. Pain is the currency of transformation. Pain is the fire that burns away the parts of you that were never meant to survive. You don't get wisdom from easy days. You don't get strength from shallow moments. You don't get clarity from soft seasons. Everything powerful about you was born from something that hurt. But here's the critical part. Most people never understand. Pain is only helpful if you use it. If you don't use it, it becomes poison. It corrodes your mind, clouds your purpose, kills your hunger. Pain is fuel or fire. It either builds you or it burns you. Most people choose to burn. They hold on to heartbreak like a trophy. They grip their trauma like a badge. They drag their past into every room, expecting the world to feel sorry for them. And the world doesn't. Time doesn't. Life doesn't. Because life has one rule: adapt or break, move or crumble, rise or rot. The people you're watching succeed aren't succeeding because their lives were easy. They're succeeding because they refuse to stay wounded. You talk about your heartbreak like it was a hurricane. They took their heartbreak and turned it into armor. You talk about what they did to you. They talk about what they're building now. You talk about how bad you feel. They use the same feeling as rocket fuel. You think your pain is special? It's not. Everyone suffers, everyone bleeds, everyone loses, everyone grieves, but only a very small percentage weaponize it. You want to join them? Then you have to understand something. Pain is the invitation. Discipline is the acceptance. Transformation is the reward. Right now, you're waiting to feel better. Stop. You don't need to feel better to start. You need to start to feel better. The emotion doesn't create the action. The action creates the emotion. You don't get confidence from believing in yourself. You get confidence from doing the things you don't believe you can do. You don't get strength by thinking about the gym. You get strength by dragging yourself there when you'd rather die. You don't get discipline when you feel ready. You get discipline by acting before you're ready. Hear this clearly. Action is the cure. Motion is the antidote. Movement is the medicine. You can sit in your grief forever, scrolling through the life that could have been. Or you can do the thing nobody expects. You rise. Not gracefully, not perfectly, not beautifully. You rise brutally. You rise violently. You rise with scars, with anger, with shaking hands and a burning chest. You rise because staying down is not an option. You rise because suffering without purpose is hell, but suffering with purpose is rebirth. You rise because the world is full of people who never get back up, and you refuse to be one of them. Let me tell you something brutal, but true. If they left you, let them go. If it died, bury it. If it broke you, rebuild. Stop trying to resurrect what God already buried. Stop trying to force life into dead things. Stop building shrines to people who walked away from you without looking back. You keep wondering if they miss you. They don't. But that's not the point. The point is, do you miss yourself? Do you miss the strength you had before you allowed someone else to dictate your worth? Do you miss the fire you had before you spent months mourning a door that closed? Do you miss the ambition you had before heartbreak stole your momentum? You can get all of it back, and more. But you have to stop feeding your pain and start feeding your potential. Understand this. The world is full of men and women sleepwalking through life, failing every day and never seeing consequences for it. They waste time. They skip discipline. They ignore opportunities. And because society is soft, they survive anyway. But survival is not success. Survival is not destiny. Survival is just breathing. You weren't born to just breathe. You were born to build. And right now, you have something most people don't. Fuel. Deep, raw, emotional fuel. Fuel that can't be bought. Fuel that wasn't given. It was earned through loss, betrayal, heartbreak, grief. This is the moment where weak people crumble and strong people are forged. Choose the second path. Use everything, every tear, every fear, every heartbreak. Every night you couldn't sleep. Every moment your chest felt like it was splitting open. Use it. Build with it. Train with it. Improve with it. Execute with it. Transform with it. Let pain be the reason you never waste another day again, because pain has a hidden gift. One most people never unlock. Pain wakes you up. Pain sobers you. Pain clarifies what matters. Pain kills the version of you that was never going to survive the future you want. Everything you are becoming requires everything you're feeling. There is no breakthrough without breakdown. There is no strength without suffering. There is no new life without something old dying. So don't numb it. Don't hide it. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Channel it. Direct it. Aim it. Maximize it. Turn heartbreak into discipline. Turn grief into momentum. Turn loss into obsession. Turn sadness into strategy. Turn suffering into supremacy. You don't get to choose whether you experience pain, but you do get to choose whether it destroys you or transforms you. And if someone left you, if someone broke you, if someone betrayed you. Here's the darkest, most liberating truth. Good. Life handed you the strongest fuel in existence. Life gave you the exact pressure required to evolve. Life exposed your weak points so you could fortify them. You think God forgot you? No. Sometimes God closes a door because you were too loyal to walk away from it yourself. Sometimes God breaks your heart to save your life. Sometimes God lets something collapse so something better can be built in its place. But the building is your job. The rising is your job. The transformation is your job. And the world is watching, not your ex, not the one who hurt you, not the people who underestimated you. You, your future self, is watching. Your destiny is watching. Your potential is watching, waiting, expecting, hoping you finally choose yourself. And one day, when you've risen from the ashes of the life you thought you wanted, when you're stronger, sharper, calmer, more powerful than you ever imagined, when your reflection looks like a different species entirely, you will look back at the pain that tried to bury you and say, "Thank you. You created me." You know what's truly strange about everything that happened? It's not the way they treated you. That part, believe it or not, was predictable. People reveal their true nature the moment they think you can't or won't fight back. Disrespect, betrayal, backhanded jokes, whispers behind your back. That's human nature on autopilot. It's the oldest pattern in the book. But that's not the part that caught anyone by surprise. No, the plot twist, the real twist, was you. Or more specifically, your silence. See, they expected chaos. They thought you'd explode, lose control, storm into the room demanding explanations you never actually needed. They were preparing themselves for the screaming, for tears, for a meltdown they could point at later and say, "See, that's why we did what we did." But you didn't give them that. Not even close. Instead, you handed them silence so sharp, it sliced through every illusion they had about who you were. You stood there, calm, collected, steady. No anger, no panic, no desperate plea for them to understand the damage they caused. And that silence, that quiet, controlled silence, hit them harder than any punch ever could. Because silence forces people to face themselves. And most people, they can't handle that. Now, every time they replay what happened, they're stuck with the same haunting question. Why didn't they react? And that question, that one single question, is driving them absolutely insane. Your silence became a mirror they can't escape. It reflects their cruelty, their insecurity, their pettiness. Every time they look back, they see themselves, not you, and that is the part they never expected. They thought they had the upper hand. They thought you'd crumble. They thought you'd beg for clarity or closure. They thought you'd shrink. But instead, you stepped back. You closed the door, and you let them choke on their own choices. That's power, real power, not the loud kind, not the dramatic kind, the kind that creeps under someone's skin and stays there. The truth is, people crave noise. They thrive on drama. They feed off reactions. They want a scene they can analyze with their friends or justify in their heads. But when you give them nothing, absolutely nothing, you become an unsolvable puzzle. And unsolved puzzles haunt people. Now they lie awake at night, wondering what you're thinking, wondering how much you know, wondering if they pushed you too far, or if you've simply stopped caring altogether. They don't fear your anger. They fear your lack of it. Because anger is predictable. Silence is not. And here's the part they really don't understand. Your silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's control. It's the loudest message you could ever send, delivered without uttering a single word. Every second you stay quiet, their doubts grow louder. Their guilt gets heavier. Their confidence cracks a little more. They expected you to break, but instead, your silence reminded them they never had any power over you at all. You weren't defeated. You were calculating. You were observing. You were deciding who deserved to stay in your life and who didn't. And they failed the test without even realizing they were being tested. Now, the consequences are catching up, not because you're punishing them, but because they're punishing themselves. That's the beauty of silence. You don't have to lift a finger. Their mind does the work for you. Their memory becomes the judge, the jury, and the executioner. The moment you chose not to react, the moment you refused to give them the chaos they were hoping for, that's the moment you won. And they feel it, even if they'll never admit it out loud, because silence has a weight, a heavy, suffocating weight. And right now, they're the ones carrying it, not you. Your silence has become the reminder of their failure, their disrespect, their mistake. And here's the part that really twists the knife. You've moved on. You're focusing on your growth, your goals, your next chapter. Meanwhile, they're stuck replaying the last one over and over again. They thought they were writing your downfall, but all they did was write themselves into the background of a story you've already outgrown. Slowly, painfully, they're realizing the truth. They didn't hurt you. They exposed themselves. And you didn't lose anything. You simply learned who never deserved a seat at your table. Your silence wasn't a retreat. It was a reset, a clean break, a message delivered without noise, but with absolute clarity. You no longer matter. And that truth, is what will haunt them long after you've forgotten their names. There's a moment, an exact moment, when the people who doubted you begin to sense that something isn't right. It doesn't happen with fireworks or dramatic revelations. It happens quietly, subtly, like a temperature drop before a storm. That moment came for them the second they realized you weren't reacting the way they expected. At first, they brushed off your silence like it was temporary, like you were just processing. They told themselves you'd come crawling back with questions, with tears, with demands for explanations they already rehearsed in the mirror. But hours turned into days, days into weeks, and still nothing from you. That's when the fear set in, not the kind of fear that causes panic in the moment, a slower one, a deeper one, a fear that whispers instead of screams, a fear that says, you miscalculated. They started noticing the shift, the way you walked past them without hesitation, the way your eyes no longer searched for theirs, the way your energy no longer leaned toward them but away. And that scared them more than any confrontation ever could. Because confrontation they could handle, closure they could face. But indifference terrifies people. They didn't just lose your words, they lost your attention, your warmth, your presence. Your silence became a boundary they could not cross, a wall they never expected you to build. And the worst part? They know it's their fault. A quiet evolution. What they failed to understand is that silence doesn't always mean nothing is happening. Sometimes silence is the sound of transformation. Sometimes silence is the echo of someone rebuilding themselves stronger than before. While they were busy imagining you broken, you were doing something far more dangerous. You were changing. Your silence wasn't empty. It was full of decisions, full of realizations, full of new priorities. You stopped questioning what they did. You stopped replaying the disrespect. You stopped trying to figure out what went wrong because you finally understood something they never wanted you to realize. It wasn't you, it was them. Their disrespect was never a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of their limits in maturity, empathy, integrity. You outgrew them the moment you chose yourself over their behavior. And that growth, it didn't go unnoticed. People like them, the ones who thrive on control, can sense when they're losing their grip. They feel it in the pit of their stomach. They see it in the way you no longer flinch when they enter a room. They hear it in the silence that keeps stretching day after day. That silence is your evolution, your rebirth, your escape from a version of yourself that once tolerated what should have been unacceptable. You're not who you were before they hurt you. You're sharper now, clearer, calmer, stronger. And nothing scares a manipulative person more than realizing their actions made you powerful instead of broken. The weight of their guilt. People like them don't ever expect to feel guilt. They think they can outrun it with excuses, drown it with lies, or bury it under ego. But guilt always finds a way back. And when it returns quietly, just like your silence. It hits them at the most inconvenient times, late at night, during conversations, in the middle of a laugh that suddenly dies in their throat. Because no matter how much they try to distract themselves, there's a voice in the back of their mind whispering, "You shouldn't have done that." It's subtle at first, a momentary discomfort, a flash of memory they try to ignore. But every day it grows louder. Your silence amplifies it. Your distance sharpens it. Your strength turns it into a weight they can't shake off. They start avoiding certain places because they remind them of you. They start rereading old messages looking for something to reassure themselves. They start wondering if maybe, just maybe, they were the problem all along. And they were. They just never expected to face it. Now, they're stuck in a loop, replaying the moment things shifted, trying to figure out when they lost control. But they'll never find the answer because the answer is simple. They never had control to begin with. You just hadn't realized it yet. Your rise without them. The most powerful part of this story isn't their downfall, it's your rise. Because while they're stuck wrestling with guilt, confusion, and regret, you're out there building a life that has nothing to do with them. You're investing in yourself. You're focusing on your peace. You're rediscovering the parts of you that were buried under their opinions and expectations. Every step forward you take, every moment of happiness you find, every quiet victory you achieve, it's another reminder to them and to yourself that you never needed them. And that realization hits harder than any revenge ever could, because revenge requires energy. Silence requires strength. And your silence says everything. You didn't lose anything. You simply let go. That's what destroys them. They expected tears, not transformation. They expected pain, not power. They expected you to crumble, not rise. You didn't just move forward. You elevated yourself to a place they can't reach, a place where their words don't sting and their presence doesn't matter. You rose, and they stayed exactly where they were. When they want back in, there will come a day maybe soon, maybe later, when they'll try to return. It always happens. People who mistreat you panic when they realize the bridge they burned led to a better life for you and a worse one for them. They'll come back with apologies soaked in desperation. They'll come back with excuses rehearsed like a script. They'll come back pretending they've changed. But the truth is simple. They don't miss you. They miss access to you. They miss the version of you who tolerated their behavior. They miss the comfort of knowing you cared. They miss the emotional power they thought they had. But you've changed the game. You're not the same person they disrespected, and they have no idea how to approach the new you. When they come back, and they will, you won't have to raise your voice. You won't have to argue or defend yourself. All you have to do is what you've been doing all along. Stay silent. Stay steady. Stay above them. Because your silence already told them everything they needed to know. The power of not needing answers. Most people crave closure. They think they need explanations to heal. They think understanding someone else's actions will help them move on. But you discovered something far more powerful. You don't need answers from someone who didn't value you. You don't need clarity from someone who wasn't honest to begin with. You don't need closure from people who never opened up in the first place. You created your own closure by walking away, and that's something they can't comprehend. They thought you would need them to explain the mess they made. They thought you would be waiting for a conversation, a confession, a moment of honesty. But you didn't wait. You moved forward. Your silence was the end of the chapter. Your growth was the beginning of the next. And that's what breaks them internally. The realization that they're irrelevant to your healing. Becoming unreachable. There's a shift that happens when you rise above someone's mistreatment. You become unreachable, not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Your energy changes, your standards rise, your boundaries strengthen, and suddenly, the people who once felt comfortable disrespecting you feel something they never expected. Distance. Distance they cannot cross. Distance you refuse to shrink. Distance that reminds them of who they truly are and who you've become. To them, you're no longer predictable. You're no longer accessible. You're no longer affected. And that's what terrifies them most. They didn't just lose you. They lost their version of you. And the version that exists now, they'll never have access to that again. You've become a mystery, a force, a presence they can't mimic, can't control, can't influence. You're free, and they know it. The final twist. Here's the truth they will never admit. They thought they broke you, but instead, they awakened you. They thought they exposed your weakness, but instead, they revealed your strength. They thought they could silence you, but instead, you mastered silence better than they ever could. Their disrespect didn't destroy you. It refined you. It shaped you. It carved out the strongest, calmest, most powerful version of you. And now they are the ones haunted by their choices, by your absence, by the person you've become without them. You didn't just win, you transformed. And they'll feel the echo of that transformation for the rest of their lives.